What is up, guys? Andy Forrest, Steam Runner here, and I am buzzing after yesterday, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to give you a bit of a lowdown on the Gloucester 20-mile race, a bit more in depth, talk through the race, how it went, plus some interesting statistics that came out of the event. However, obviously, as always, before we jump into that, a massive thank you to each and every one of you providing support across social media, Strava, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. You're legends. It makes this journey so awesome to know that you guys are there supporting me, you have my back. I really appreciate it. All your kind words they blow my mind. So what I thought I'd do today was kind of break it up, because I appreciate that I can talk and I want to keep it a bit shorter and sweeter. So I'm going to talk about the race, and then I want to talk about some stats that Doug has given me, but I'm going to give you a couple of those in bullet point form now before we jump into the race, and then after the race recap I'll talk about some statistics that we have. So without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so some race statistics for you. Official time, chip time, 2:08:57. Gun time 2:09:01. So chip time 2:08:57. We didn't just get sub 2:10, we got sub 2:09. It's still blowing my mind. Average pace 6:24. For your information, we split a 1:05:13 for the first 10 miles, then a 1:03:43 for the second, so I negative split it. That makes me so happy. In the first half, we ran with an average heart rate of 163, with a cadence of 160. And then in the second half, an average heart rate of 174. We really ramped it up with a cadence of 158. So notice the heart rate jumped up by 11 beats per minute on average, but the cadence dropped by 2, and that is because I was elongating my stride. My stride length was getting bigger, I was pushing harder, and that tends to happen with me. You'll notice in a lot of my, in fact someone commented on it in one of my recent videos about my cadence. Why was my cadence low at a higher heart rate, now a higher pace? Now ultimately with the 39-inch inside leg, my cadence is never going to hit 180 unless I'm doing 400-meter reps, and my natural racing cadence is around 160 to 164 depending on what the race is. 10k is more like 166, but on the whole that was perfect. But yeah, my stride length just got bigger, and so my cadence dropped, and I set a new threshold heart rate of 174. So before it was 176, it was 166, it's jumped up to 174. This is all in terms of heart rate training, heart rate zones. Really interesting information for Doug. I have never worn a heart rate monitor for Doug on a race, so I felt like I hate wearing them on a race because I don't like the constriction around my chest. But obviously I'm very aware that you can get some really valuable data on race day, and as much as you can replicate as much as you want in training, you can never replicate it on race day. Does that make sense? So I wore it. I've worn a heart rate enough over the last few weekends on 20 miles. I thought, sod it, we'll give it a go today, and that has allowed us to get a really good picture as to where we're at. So all training zones are now going to be adjusted. I will talk about that later in the week. So let's dive into the race. Okay, so the race itself, I actually was fortunate enough to pick up my number on Saturday. I was in Gloucester the day before, had an optician's appointment for my daughter, so I was in there. I asked my wife, can we hop out? It's kind of like 5 minutes out of town. Hopped out, got my race number, so that was great. Didn't need to rock up until the race until 9 o'clock. It was a 9:30 start, and that's good. No rush, nice and chilled, felt great. I've been really working on putting the calories in the morning. Now, obviously with my recent or previous stitch issues and things like that, I don't like to eat too much heavy stuff, but obviously I've been speaking to Doug a lot more about nutrition. He's been very useful at sending his clients around emails about the type of calories, not the type, the volume of calories you want to eat, and sort of 3 to 4 hours before an event. I think, I can't find the email, but I'm sure it was like 300 plus calories in the morning. If it's 1 to 2 hours, then it's X amount, and if it's under an hour, then it's X amount. So allows your body to digest. And obviously I normally have a bowl of porridge, which was around about, I don't know, 100 and something calories. And what I thought I'd do this time is I got up half an hour earlier, so I made sure I was eating 3¼ hours before the event, so that made a big difference, I think. I had a bowl of porridge which was about 110 calories, roughly. Had a banana, which is about 50 for an average sized banana. I think they are, I googled it. And then I had an SIS Energy Go drink, which had some great calories in it. I can't remember how much, but it really took me up close to that 300 mark, and that, I think, played a big factor because it was light on the stomach. I didn't have anything heavy going into the stomach. It had electrolytes in it before I started the race, and as I said, got those extra calories. So normally where I'd be starting with just a bowl of porridge and a banana, I now had this extra fuel on board, which I felt personally made a massive difference going through the race. So dive into the race. It started at 9:30. It was great to see Donato. Fantastic. I knew he was running the race. I kind of wish I had got a bit earlier to see him and talk to him a bit more, but the beginning was rushed, the end was rushed. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up again properly soon. And the gun went off, and the goal was ultimately run faster than marathon pace. So it was a 3-lap course, I think it was 6.6 miles per lap, and then like you tagged on a little 0.3 or 4 or whatever it was at the end of the 3rd lap. So the terrain was just as a rough, I'll put the graph on screen, but just as a rough, it was like the first couple of miles, a couple of lumps and bumps, but mainly flat. And then a gradual incline from 3 to 4 with a couple of decent hills in them. Short and sharp, but decent hills. And then last 2 miles, a gentle downhill. So it evened itself out along the way and was really nice. The goal was simply to hit faster than sub 2:55 marathon pace. That is 6:40. So I was shooting for, do you know, I did say to Lee, I said to him, you know, there's no reason why we can't run 6:25s, but 6:30 to 6:35 is the optimum. We'll just see how the day pans out. Ultimately, we ran 6:24. So I headed out, and we were splitting the 6:30s, and it was like bang on pace. I was chatting, happy to get the camera out, talk, feeling good. And I went in with that positive mindset again of, right, enjoyment today. We're going to work hard. It's going to be comfortably hard. We're going to grind it out. But we are going to have fun. I'm really enjoying having this spark back for my races. I'm enjoying my races. Newport was fantastic. I wanted to carry that through to today and yesterday, and ultimately it happened. So we cruised through the first lap, really good pace, hit the first couple of hills. Slowest split was 6:38 going up one of the hills. Other than that, cruise downhill. And I think from memory, I'll put the splits on screen, but I think from memory, we're talking 6:20s, I think they were for the downhills, maybe even sub that. And I think it was at that point that was a turning point. We started lap 2 and kind of felt really good. And I always question myself, probably up until 4, 5, 6 miles into a race of that distance, as, am I running too hard? Can I hold this pace? I got around the first lap, and I was starting to think, yeah, you can do this. This is okay. You can hold it. So we got to mile 8. Corey said that his shin, he's been having a bit of trouble with his shin, bit of shin splints, and he said that he was starting to get a little bit of aggravation there. So we went through mile 8. You saw that clip yesterday. Got through the turnaround point because there was a little out and back section on a tight U-turn, and then we inadvertently, and this isn't inadvertently because there was no intention here, we powered up the hills a little bit harder, those miles 3 and 4, that middle section of the second loop. So what was that, mile 11 and 12 or whatever, and it was a little bit fast, but got to the top of the second one, knew the downhill was coming and went, okay, yeah, that was all right, we can do this, one more lap to go, but obviously the last 2 gentle downs. I was feeling good. At that point, we lost Corey a little bit. He was literally just behind us, but me and Lee pressed on. We came through the second lap and we had this belief of, oh my gosh, we can do this. And I forgot to mention, at the 10-mile mark, sort of just as we were going through the first set of hills, a chappie shouted from the side of the road, 65-10, and we were like, I looked at Lee and Corey and was like, have we just split 65-10 for the first 10 miles? And Lee was like, I guess so. And bearing in mind, I had my watch on the inside of my wrist, so I was only ever looking when it beeped until the end. I looked a lot at the end. But I was only ever looking when it beeped because I did not want to look at the watch, didn't want to be a slave to the watch. And I thought, that's going to be close to a 2:10, that's going to be brilliant. Anyway, we ploughed on, hit the third lap, and it was kind of like, okay, there's this gradual progression here of pace. The downhills, we split 6:11, 6:13, 6:14, something like that. And I said to Lee, this is madness. We're hitting nearly half marathon pace here. What on earth is going on? And we're like, I don't know, let's just roll with it. So we roll with it and we hit the third lap and we got the first 2 miles done. Lee needed a wee, had to drop off into the bushes, had a quick pit stop, came back, caught me up within a mile. So he put on an incredible surge. I take my hat off to him because I couldn't have done that. He surged back from there to catch me up so we were back together by mile 16. We hit those hills again and we just got to those hills and we were like, I recorded at mile 17 and I said, it's going to be a tough 3 miles. At that point, we'd started the uphill grind. It's going to be tough, but we're on for something special here. We hit those hills and I said to Lee, let's just nail it. Come on, we can do this. Just chest up, breathing, knees up, let's do it. Come on, they're short and sharp. So we got up the hills. Massive thanks to Lee, because as I was going up the hills and driving my knees up, my camera fell out of my belt, ran behind me. I stopped to turn around to get it. Lee was just behind me. He picked it up for me, bless him. So he stopped to grab that. What a legend. I got to the top of 2 hills and we were like, right, let's nail it. And in that third lap, we must have overtaken at least 10 people, at least. So we took the leading lady, we took quite a few people. I think Linda, Lee's wife, said we were in the sort of 30 to 40 range around lap 2, and we came in at 18th and 19th. So I know we took at least 10 people, and we just hammered it for that last mile, those last 2 miles, and we just went for it, and we clocked 6:18s, and it's still disbelief now. That mile 19 and a half, I just looked at him before I put the camera on, and was like, mate, we can do this. We can actually split 2:10. We can beat it. I can't believe it. We might do this. Anyway, we did it. We smashed it. Got to the end. Felt amazing. Felt great. Legs were tired. It was my hips more than anything. My glutes today are a bit sore, but my legs were tired, but they were okay. I went home. I had a protein shake and a protein bar before I had my McDonald's, before anyone asks. And then I rolled, stretched, used my spiky ball, just did a full body, sort of run through, went to bed, woke up this morning, shook out 5 miles and feel good. So overall, guys, yeah, the race went, it was, in terms of a result, it was a seismic result. For me and my training, it just means that we are well on course for what I want to achieve, maybe even more, and we just have to keep focused, keep positive. We can now readjust things and go from there. So that is the race wrap up. Okay, so let's go through a couple of stats that Doug has sent me very kindly, and I kind of want to share with you, similar to what I've been sharing some of my reports of a statistical analysis. So the first graph I'm going to put on screen, and I've got his email here that I'm going to read to you, is the performance management report. On here, we are drawing your attentions to the form line, the line of the form. As you can see, he's planned the workouts and the taper to ensure that on race day, my form was around 10 to 15 on the graph. It was actually 15, so perfect. This is a combination of fitness and fatigue, and is designed to show when you're fresh and ready to go. So you can see there are ups and downs there when I was ill and didn't train and had a small taper for the half marathon. But for this race, we wanted to replicate everything that we were going to be doing in the marathon. So he got my workout spot on. We got everything tuned up nicely. And obviously that translated to the performance I put in. I have to stress at this point, guys, I could not have done this without Doug. He is a miracle worker. The next graph is the time in the heart rate zones. As you can see, that in my last few training weeks, I was spending a lot of times in the lower zones, but as of last week's graph, you'll see there's quite a lot of time spent in the upper zones, a lot more darker red. So due to the fact that we've now set a new threshold heart rate, we're going to be adjusting those zones naturally, because we need to now, we know that, well, reading from his email, we know that I'm comfortable racing at the higher intensity, so consequently we now have to increase my threshold heart rate again as my body adapts. So we now have to increase the zones so that my body adapts to running at the higher intensities for longer, which is fantastic. And overall, the fitness history, this is really interesting. You can see that there's an upward trend in the line here, and this is really pleasing to see. This is at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we've incorporated the extra run-in from the end of January, which is fantastic. So he's written down some stuff here about records and things. I will leave those to him to explain in another video, but on the whole, you can see my fitness graph is trending in the right direction, and overall, I'm just delighted, and I cannot thank Doug enough. So yeah, that's that. Okay guys, so as a final wrap up, I want to say a massive thank you once again to you guys for your support, and of course Doug. I'm going to leave Doug's details in the description below. If you have any questions about coaching or you want more information, I genuinely could not recommend this man enough. He is working wonders with me. I am exceeding all expectations and racing the best I've raced in a long time, and it's all thanks to him. So yeah, his website's now live as well. You can go and check out what he offers. Links are in the description. So that's it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Of course, share it with your friends, and do consider subscribing to the channel for weekly running content. And I will see you next time. Until then.